So, Powerless is the title for lesson 2, and Maverick's already put out a couple of conversations about it. We haven't started the questions yet, but he has put out some words to think about defining for yourself and some concepts to start thinking about. The concept that he had mentioned already is only if. And he had mentioned only if as, he says, trapped in a fantasy land of rationalization. Only if, and things would be different, by like that justifying your ill thinking and bad choices through the only if paradigms. So I put some thought into that and how that is for me and what that meant to me when I considered it. And to me, it came as a duality, an inversion, perhaps, as many things do. He said only if, and what immediately popped into my mind was if only. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, I just switched the words around, that's all I did. But I think it was more than that, actually. I think it was a lot deeper than that. Because only if is a codifier, it's a systemizer. It reduces something into a code or a system. For example, that will only work if this happens. You can only do that if you do this. I will put up with that only if you, something along those lines, puts things into some set of rules or systematic organization of power and control in a situation when you would not otherwise have power and control. But on the flip side of that, the terms if only are more of a modifier. Both are transitive verbs, so they're action words. But the modifier allows the dreamer to create a basic or fundamental change to provide a new orientation or serve a new end. So if only would be a mechanism allowing a perception to be altered within the mind and heart, separate from the reality. For example, if only I had chosen this, then that wouldn't have happened, or that would have happened instead of that happening. So if only acts to modify the reality through an unrealized alteration of the actual resolution or events. So it modifies that. So both only if the codifier or systemizer or code maker, putting things in an organized system to enhance power, or if only, which is a modifier, which would change the fundamental or basic structure of something to provide something else. Both of those enable denial of powerlessness in a situation by codifying or modifying in the mind and heart to promote the perception of increased power. So we're going into a chapter that's about powerlessness, and we spend a lot of time in our lives powerless. There's in lesson 2, if you saw my video, I gave you just a few examples of that. And those are direct examples, but there are also some indirect areas of powerlessness because we are not able to control the behaviors and decisions of other people, of other systems, providers, authorities, things like that. And because we are not able to have any control or power in those situations, we often find ourselves dealing with consequences or repercussions or tertiary situations that arrive or are derived from the decisions, actions, and behaviors of others than ourselves. And we in that situation have no choice in dealing with that situation presented to us we then have to approach it again from our own situation or perspectives of power and control and our own tools to resolve it and go forward from there with what we do have available. So only if and if only allow us to perceive enhanced power in a situation where we have none. So an example of that, like as a tertiary consequence, a sibling decides to sneak out in the night to go and do something, and you're aware that the sibling has done this, and in that moment you make the decision not to say something and bust out the sibling. As a result, the sibling is late coming home and is discovered, and then the parents are questioning you as to your knowledge about what happened to the sibling, and you're now in a spot where you are trying to figure out if you're going to tell the truth, which brings you both down, or tell a lie, which brings only them down, but leaves you with other consequences between yourself and your sibling. And you might find yourself asking yourself, or stating to yourself, if only they hadn't snuck out, I wouldn't have had to do this, and we would not be dealing with this. Along those lines, just a benign, generic example, just to ponder how that might look for you. Only ifs would be, in my examples, would come up more of an authoritarian kind of thing right at the moment, just because I've had a long and authoritarian kind of day. So that was the first of the powerless concepts that he provided to us to think on. There's also some more words that he has put out there going into powerless chapter, and I will bring you some words about those as well. The other words that he told us to apply our own personal definitions to are the words worry, escape, resentment, loneliness, emptiness, and selfishness. I've got his definitions here, and I will come back and we'll talk about each of those as we go into this chapter. And the first question, which I anticipate, I have no expectations. We all have lives, right? We have plenty of work to do in the meantime. So think about codifying and modifying your powerlessness, and then think about how to live with it and accept it and enjoy the freedom of it, because it's very free. It's been a great day, but it's been a long one, so good night, y'all.